On a warm summer night in Ferguson, Missouri, a city already strained by whispers of injustice and the heavy silence of forced acceptance, the lives of three young men would irreversibly intertwine with the brutality deeply rooted in the streets. The city, a melting pot of frustration and fear, simmered beneath a thin layer of normalcy, where local news barely scratched the surface of a much larger problem: systemic police violence and constantly suppressed abuses. It was a place where hope seemed a distant mirage, and distrust of authorities was a deep scar on the soul of the African American community. It was a sweltering Thursday in August. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple over the community center's basketball court. Jamal Smith, 26, the oldest and a paternal figure to his younger brothers. Elijah Smith, 22, athletic and always with an easy smile. And their cousin Marcus Smith, 25, an aspiring musician with a gentle soul and a natural talent for the guitar, had just finished a sweaty game. Sweat dripped down their brows, but the euphoria of victory on the court dispelled their fatigue. Laughter echoed as they walked toward Jamal's car, an old but well-maintained sedan that Elijah had insisted on equipping with a discreet dash cam, more for fun to record trips and jokes than out of any dark premonition. "Man, Elijah's final shot was insane!" exclaimed Marcus, his voice filled with admiration as they unlocked the car doors. "Practice makes perfect, cousin. You guys didn't believe," joked Elijah, wiping his face with a towel. Jamal, the most grounded, smiled. "It's getting late. Better head home before Mom starts calling." The lightness of the night was short-lived. As soon as they turned the corner, the blue and red lights of a police cruiser erupted in the darkness, engulfing them in an aura of apprehension. Jamal's heart pounded. They weren't doing anything wrong. They never did. But fear was an old acquaintance. The two police officers, Officers Miller and Davis, emerged from the patrol car with aggressive stances, their hands on their holsters. Their faces showed no trace of patience or questioning, only cold, relentless authority. "Documents and license, now!" Miller ordered, his voice grave and authoritative, before Jamal even fully lowered the window. Jamal, hands visible on the steering wheel, tried to stay calm. "Good evening, officer. Yes, of course." He reached for the documents in the glove compartment, a slow and deliberate movement. "Hands where I can see them," shouted Davis, his voice laden with impatience, before pulling the car door open, nearly hitting Jamal's arm. The tension inside the car was palpable. Elijah and Marcus shrank into their seats, the night's lightness replaced by a chilling terror. "We're just coming back from the court, officer. We played basketball," Marcus explained, his voice a little louder than usual, trying to break the ice. "Quiet," growled Miller, his eyes fixed on Marcus. "Out of the car, all three of you! Hands on your head!" The young men obeyed, one by one, exiting the vehicle. Marcus, the most verbally expressive, with a history of speaking up against injustice, tried to argue, his frustration growing. "But why? We didn't do anything." It was the fatal mistake. The response came in a violent shove from Miller, which sent Marcus sprawling against the car. The young man's face contorted in shock and pain. Elijah, seeing the scene, instinctively stepped forward. "Hey, you don't need to do that!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with indignation. Davis, the second officer, reacted with brutality. A strong punch struck Elijah in the face, knocking him down. Blood streamed from his nose, staining the asphalt. Jamal cried out, "Stop it! He didn't do anything!" The scene became a blur of violence. Marcus, trying to get up, was grabbed by Miller, who threw him forcefully to the ground, face against the concrete. A knee to the body, followed by quick, brutal blows. Marcus screamed, a muffled sound, before his body gave way, inert. Jamal, overpowered by Davis, who was pushing him against the car, desperately tried to break free. "Marcus, my cousin, what are you doing?" He felt a blow to his temple, another to his stomach, then a series of punches that forced him to double over. The pain was excruciating, but his desperation for Marcus spurred him on. He tried to see his cousin, tried to reach him, but was thrown to the ground, his head hitting hard. Darkness began to cloud his vision. Elijah, still dazed and bleeding, crawled towards his brother, who lay fallen and semi-conscious. His eyes widened when he saw Marcus. His cousin was motionless, face turned to the side, and a trickle of blood forming a puddle beneath his head. Elijah called out, his voice trembling, "Marcus! Marcus!" There was no response. Shock froze his body, a terrifying paralysis. He could barely breathe, his world shattering into 1,000 pieces as the officer stepped away from Marcus's body, panting but without a hint of remorse. Ambulances and more patrol cars arrived within minutes. The official narrative was already being woven. The young men had resisted arrest, assaulted the officers. Marcus, according to the police version, had succumbed to a heart attack during the altercation. Jamal and Elijah were taken away. Jamal, severely injured with a concussion and fractured ribs, went straight to the hospital. Elijah, in a state of shock, was detained for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest, though not a single word of resistance had left his mouth. The family was informed about Marcus, the devastating news falling like a rock upon the matriarch, the boy's grandmother, Mrs. Sarah Smith, a woman of unwavering faith and gentle voice, but who now wept with the pain of a wounded lion. The police presented a cold, dispassionate report, ignoring Jamal's visible injuries and the evidence of brutality. However, there was a silent witness. The dashcam in Jamal's car had recorded every second of the interaction, from the initial stop to the final blows that took Marcus's life and left Jamal in agony. The video, raw and unquestionable, showed the naked truth. As the family struggled to process the loss and injustice, a family friend, an electronics technician named Samuel "Sam" Johnson, who had helped Elijah install the camera, remembered the device. He managed to retrieve the memory card before the car was taken to the police impound lot. What Sam saw horrified him, but also gave him purpose. He knew he had to leak the video. With his heart pounding, he contacted a local television station known for its investigative journalism, WAMO-TV. Journalist Ava Sharma, a veteran with a reputation for not shying away from the truth, received the video. As she watched, a chill ran down her spine. It was the proof the community needed. That night, WAMO-TV broke the silence. The dashcam video aired, unedited, uncensored. The images were shocking, the unnecessary aggression, the merciless brutality, the muffled screams, and the sight of Marcus falling, lifeless. The police version crumbled in seconds. The reaction was immediate and explosive. The community of Ferguson, which for so long had accepted veiled violence, which had murmured instead of shouting, now found its voice. Marcus's death was not just a personal tragedy. It was the last straw, the turning point that transformed passive acceptance into righteous revolt. The streets of Ferguson were filled with protesters. The mourning for Marcus's death turned into collective anger against injustice. The image of Marcus, smiling on the basketball court, contrasted painfully with the final image in the video. Marcus Smith's name became a rallying cry. Jamal, still recovering in the hospital, learned of the movement. Despite the physical pain, a new energy coursed through him. He needed to be Marcus's voice. With the help of his family and pro bono civil rights lawyers, he began to speak out, first in videos recorded from his hospital bed, then in public appearances, even while still weak. His voice, once a mere whisper of pain, now echoed with the strength of 1,000 laments. Elijah, released on bail and still dealing with the trauma, found solace and purpose in the demonstrations. He carried a photo of Marcus everywhere, and when he spoke, his voice, once locked by shock, now vibrated with unwavering determination. He became one of the youngest faces of the movement, inspiring his peers not to stay silent. The Smith family, led by the resilient Mrs. Sarah, who, despite her grief, became a pillar of strength, sued the police department and the officers involved. Marcus Smith's case gained national attention. Reporters from across the country descended on Ferguson, focusing the nation's attention on police brutality in black communities. Officers Miller and Davis were suspended and, under overwhelming public pressure and irrefutable evidence, were eventually indicted for homicide and assault. The legal battle was long and arduous, but the truth, supported by the video and the testimonies of Jamal and Elijah, was undeniable. After months of trial, moving testimonies, and the tireless fight of the community, justice prevailed. Officers Miller and Davis were convicted of their crimes. The sentence, though it would not bring Marcus back, represented a significant victory for the community, an official recognition that Black Lives Matter and that impunity would no longer be tolerated. Marcus's death was a catalyst. The movement in Ferguson inspired other cities to confront police violence and demand accountability. Reforms began to be implemented in police departments nationwide, with increased oversight, de-escalation training, and the mandatory use of body cameras. Jamal, physically recovered but forever marked by the loss, dedicated his life to advocating for racial justice. He founded the Marcus Smith Foundation for Justice, an organization that offers legal and psychological support to families affected by police violence and fights for systemic reforms. His voice, once broken by grief, was now a beacon of hope and change. Elijah, overcoming his trauma with the help of therapy and the unconditional support of his family, returned to his studies, graduating with a law degree. He became a civil rights attorney, determined to ensure that no other family had to endure the pain his had suffered. He carried with him Marcus's silent promise to use his voice for those who were silenced. Mrs. Sarah Smith, with her gentle gaze and unbreakable strength, remained the matriarch of the family and a respected figure in the community. She continued to preach faith and resilience, reminding everyone that even in the deepest darkness, the light of hope and justice can emerge when people refuse to remain silent. Jamal's car, that old sedan, was repaired and became a symbol. The dash cam, the silent witness that exposed the truth, was donated to a local museum, a vivid reminder of the tragedy that propelled a revolution. The story of Marcus Smith, of his brothers Jamal and Elijah, and of the community of Ferguson was not just a story of grief, but a powerful narrative of collective triumph. It was proof that, even in the darkest circumstances, truth finds a way, and the silence that once covered injustice can be broken by the courage and unity of a people who refuse to be forgotten. The echo of their cries for justice resonated, transforming pain into a driving force for change and tragedy into a legacy of hope. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ones.